It began on a hot and humid day in an Atlanta courtroom several years before. A young sales manager for Coca-Cola, who was later to become president of Coca-Cola, Samuel C. Dobbs, sat listening to the arguments of the opposing attorney. His company faced a government charge of violating the Food and Drug Act, which the trial, when concluded, showed was totally unfounded. However, when the government's attorney in his address to the court also charged that Coca-Cola was misrepresenting facts in its advertising, Dobbs became disturbed. The attitude of his company's attorney, who brushed aside the charge with, "Why, all advertising is exaggerated, nobody really believes it," and the fact that the judge seemed to nod in agreement, bothered Mr. Dobbs. As he looked more critically at the advertising of others, the more fully he understood the reason for the careless indictment that day in the Georgia courtroom. He concluded that dishonest, deceptive, and indecent advertising was a disgrace to business. It's against public morals and all good conscience. There ought to be a law. But why depend on a law? We advertisers must clean it up and keep it clean ourselves. Soon and unexpectedly, he had the job on his own hands, the job he said must be done. He was elected to the presidency of the Associated Advertising Federation at the organization's 5th annual convention in Louisville back in 1909. The torch of truth began burning so brightly by August of 1911 that when the association met in historic Ford Hall in Boston, the little army had thousands of recruits. Old letters in the file of the American Advertising Federation reveal the evangelistic spirit and fervor of that 1911 meeting. One said, "There was something in the leaders that seemed to burn away opposition." Another said, "The work done seemed to be a combination of cold economics and fiery religion." And the speakers talked not as men making ordinary reports, but as leaders taking part in a crusade. It takes the actions of the practical mind of John Romer of Printers, Inc., the advertising journal, to direct this spirited crusade into a practical plan of action. Returning from the Boston meeting, Romer publishes a plan for self-regulatory action. He suggests that advertising clubs establish vigilance committees to investigate misrepresentations in the advertising originating in their cities and to use every means to achieve voluntary changes. He also publishes a suggested statute penalizing false and misleading advertising. Only 2 states, New York and Massachusetts, had such laws, and they were not very effective. An old-fashioned, camp-beaten spirit dominated the next annual convention in May of 1912. A Dallas newspaper reported, it said that no convention or meeting, save a meeting of distinctly religious character, has ever started like that of the Associated Advertising Clubs of America at Dallas. 16 noted advertising men occupied pulpits in 16 Dallas churches yesterday morning and delivered 16 sermons, strong, forceful addresses, all burdened with the thought that advertising must tell the truth. It must be honest. Mass meetings were held at the Opera House both afternoon and night. By the end of 1913, these early truth workers can point to definite progress. First, the model statute against false and misleading advertising had been drawn for enactment in numerous states through the efforts of advertising clubs. Second, local vigilance committees are working in major cities and are being established at a rapid rate throughout the country. Third, a national vigilance committee has been established to stimulate the work of local groups and to investigate and act on untruthful national advertising. Fourth, a truth emblem has been created, and the slogan, "Truth in Advertising," had been coined.